Hey FlossTube, my name's Paula, and this is my first venture into videoing. This is going to be a channel about cross-stitch, crafting, primarily cross-stitch, but I do some crocheting, occasionally mess with some other crafts, so I'll share my adventures here. I've been watching FlossTube since we started at home more in March, and kind of gotten hooked and figure maybe I'll keep up with this better than I do with blogging. We'll see how that goes. Figured I'd do a little bit about the Know Your Stitcher. I live in upstate New York. I know there are people that will laugh when I say that. I'm actually in the Catskills area, about 6 miles from where the original Woodstock Festival happened. If you look at a map where New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania come together, I'm on the New York side of that. Full-time, I work for a cable television company. I manage the billing system, and part-time, I work as a 911 dispatcher. I used to do that full-time, but the scheduling just got crazy. So I enjoy it. I like the people I work with, and I really don't want to give that up. So other than stitching, like I said, I read, I crochet. 3 years ago, my husband got back into riding a motorcycle, and I said I'd ride with him once in a while. That resulted in me getting hooked, and I now own my own motorcycle. So when the weather's decent here in New York, a lot of times on the weekends, that's where you'll find us. My husband has 2 children. Both are grown and out of the house. Amanda lives up near Albany, and she's a elementary school teacher. And Kyle is a police officer, and he's local here. We do have 2 pets. We have a sheepdog border collie mix named Chica, who we rescued 2 years ago, and her story is amazing. I'll share that another time, otherwise it could get too long. I could talk about her for ages. And our other dog is Zoe, who's a Boston Terrier Beagle mix, and she's pretty amazing too. And they get up to quite the mischief. We'll share stories other times. Other than that, I'm looking at the list here. My favorite book, I would say, is Ladies of the Club, but I tend to read pretty much anything that catches my attention. Just like I'll stitch on pretty much anything I can get my hands on. I've been stitching since I graduated, seriously, since I graduated from college back in the mid-80s, late 80s. And I got into the stitching community on the AOL boards, if any of you have been around long enough to remember them. And I've been collecting stash since. So stash dives are a potential in the future. There'll be many of them because my stash is a little bit embarrassing. I figured for today, I'll go through my active works in progress, WIPs, show you, I've been spending this year trying to get some more of my pile of stitched pieces finished. So I've got a few FFOs with Christmas time coming and getting ready to put up the tree. Trying to get some of those ornaments that I've stitched over the past few years ready for display. Pretty happy with my progress there. So without further ado, let's jump right into WIPs. This first piece is a piece that I tend to work on when the phones are slow at the 911 center, and I put it aside for some other more current adventures, but I am planning on pulling it out again shortly. It's called Stand for Freedom. It was a 2018 limited edition release by Glendon Place, and I picked up the kit from my LNS, which has unfortunately since closed. I hope the glare isn't too bad, but this is it. Stand for Freedom. There is some glare there. I see that. Unfortunately, I've kind of bent up the chart because it's been in my bag that I use to travel back and forth from the 911 center. But here we are. I've got the eagle mostly finished. I've got the border and the words to do, the buttons to put on. This is on 28 count Bramble by Picture This Plus, using the Cold 4 Sulkies. Like I said, I picked it up as a kit, so I'm using all the Cold 4 colors. I'm still debating. I really like the eagle, and the way the eagle's charted. I'm not sure how much of the border or the words I'm going to chart, or actually stitch, I'm sorry. But that's where I am with that. My next piece, I got involved with the Cross Stitch monthly magazine challenge on Facebook. It was started as a way to get us all stitching those magazines that we've collected for ages. And I decided to join in. And this, in September, this was my start. It's from Cross Stitch and Country Crafts, the October 1995 edition. And here it is. It's called Autumn Band Sampler. Let's see if I can get that where you can see it without too much glare. And it's by Sandra Cox-Vosnall, she's the designer behind Sweetheart Tree. And I've always loved Sweetheart Tree. They're great charts, and they're a lot of them are small enough you can knock them out pretty quickly. Hold on, sorry about that. I dropped my mat board and didn't want you to see me having to bend over. But here's where I am on this. This is on a piece of 32 count Forest, I believe is the name, from Picture This Plus. Kind of a small piece I had hanging around my stash. Decided to mix up the colors, and I like the way it's looking so far. So I've got the top and the bottom cross stitch pieces left to go. Hope to get some more work on that this weekend. So next up is a piece by Karen Kluba of Rosewood Manor, and it's Leeds House Sampler. This is one I haven't seen a lot, and when I saw it on her website, I really fell for it. I like the colors. I like the kind of Celtic twist to the design. My husband is Scots-Irish, and I decided I was going to do this one. You'll see I'm modifying it, and it's going to be a wedding sampler for us. So you can see I've already changed up. I've got all the alphabet done. I changed it up and put the alphabet in 2 bands and put our name with some of the other motifs in the middle, our last name. Now I'm going to get down into the main Celtic motif. And then when I get to the bottom, I have some ideas that I'm going to change up the bottom verse a little bit as well, I think. The one that's there is perfectly nice, and it's definitely Celtic leaning, but I found some other things that I might like better. So that's that. Next, this weekend, for those of you who participate, is International Hermit and Stitch Weekend, run by Joe on Facebook. And my plan this weekend was to knock out some good time on my whips. But I got sidetracked down a rabbit hole last night while I was watching the 2 premieres on Hallmark Channel, the Christmas movies. It's a guilty pleasure while my husband's cooking for his deer camp, which started this weekend. And I picked up, this is October Feast by Brenda Gervais. And I really need to work on this lighting, I know, but it's my first video, right? So I started this last night during the premieres at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So I'm pretty happy with a few hours of stitching. This is where I'm at with that. This is a random, I believe it's 16 count Fiddler's Light Ada. And I'm using it, the chart calls for weeks and gel arts. I'm using the ones that I have that are called for. So the gray is Banker's Gray. I had that in my stash. The squirrel is in Nutmeg, which I also had in my stash. The tail, it is supposed to be I think pecan, which I didn't have, so I used Tarnished Gold. I kind of like how they look together. And there'll be some other substitutions as I go along. This is a quick little piece. It's like 52 by 54 or something like that. So I'm hoping to knock that out later this afternoon. I started that because I've got a really cute finishing idea in mind, and I've got all the supplies. I want to get it done. So when we switched to strictly remote working back in March, I realized that I've got a lot of time while I'm on conference calls, and I don't use the video function on my laptop. I pretty much use audio only and screen sharing, but I don't use the video the way my multiple monitors are set up. The camera's my laptop's closed, so I can't use the camera even if I wanted to. And it's a perfect time for stitching. I find I actually pay better attention when I'm on calls and stitching something that I don't have to count a lot on. Just kind of works that way. Probably the people I work with would doubt it, but those of you who stitch know what I'm talking about. So one of the things I started during that is from Heartstring Samplery, and this is Coffee Quaker. I know Laura from What You Stitching has been stitching this she started this and she convinced me to start it. So there's the cover art. I did actually buy this as a paper chart before I realized that Heartstring Samplery has an Etsy shop and I can get things immediately. Yeah, not so great when you're home bored on a conference call. But anyway, here's where I am. I'm stitching this on 25 count Dublin in the color Caramel from Tropical Stitches. She's on Etsy. I'll try to get notes down below like everyone's so wonderful about doing. I love her. Her fabric's great quality. She ships really quick. I've talked back and forth with her a few times. She did a custom die for me after this because I needed some other 25 count fabric to finish up the rest of the coffee pieces. Anybody who knows me knows that coffee is definitely one of my other vices besides stash collecting. And here's where I'm at with this. So I'm really happy with how this is coming out. It's been quite a while since I've done any over one in any great amount. And I love the size that this is going to be, but I do have to have pretty good light to work on that. The light in my office is much better than up here where I do my finishing. So it's pretty easy to work on. I just haven't pulled it out in a while because I've got sucked down a couple of other rabbit holes. Way back when I joined the AOL boards, I tell you, it was such a relief to find out that I'm not the only person who doesn't just stitch on one thing at a time. I thought there was something kind of wrong with me because my family members they finish a piece and go on to the next. So the other piece I'm working on that I really would like to get finished before the end of the year is Winter is Past by Blackbird Designs. Let's see if you can see that without... I know a lot of you have already seen this, probably a lot of you have stitched this, but I love the blues in this piece. Blue is kind of one of my favorite colors, and that really caught me. I'm stitching this on 36 count Ancient by Picture This Plus, 1 thread over 2, and here's where I'm at with that. So I've got one more band of alphabet up here, and then I've got that really gorgeous border with tulips and with all the blues in it. So now that I'm back working from home full-time. For a while I was working 1 week remote, 1 week in the office. Last week our company decided, because in the area where the office is there's a big uptick in cases, they decided that we're all going to be working full-time remote again until at least the middle of January. So that means more conference calls, more stitching time. So hopefully I will knock that one out before the end of 2020. Since I already put the date on it, I kind of feel obligated. Next piece is another start from the Cross Stitch monthly magazine challenge, and this is one I've had and I've wanted to do since it came out. It's not quite as old as the Autumn Sampler, but it's from Cross Stitch and Needlework, September 2008. The article calls it Halloween Fairy, but I know that Nora Corbett has another Halloween Fairy, so I've been calling this one Trick or Treat. I'm sure you've probably seen it. I know I've got several friends that have stitched it, but here she is. I'm using the called for threads on a piece of Dapple by Picture This Plus. I believe it's 32 count. Yeah, it is 32 count Belfast. And I kind of like how she's not really sepia toned, but I really like that she's in those brown tones. I hope the color's showing up true here. But this is where I'm at with her. I've got just a couple more colors in the bottom of her skirt and her legs, and then I'll be on to the metallics and the beads. That's the sum of my current whips. I have some that haven't seen any love for a while, and they'll come out eventually. Like I said, I'm hoping for the rest of this weekend to put some good time in them. I hope to finish up October Feast and then get back to some of these other ones. But in the meantime, like I said, I have been doing some FFOing, and I'll just share a couple of those with you before I end the video. I'm looking at my timer here. This actually hasn't taken me as long as I thought I would. This one is a cat's whiskers design, which came as a kit. I don't even remember when, but it's using Dinky Dye's silks. And I got this, I think I got this as a kit. I don't remember if it came kitted or if I bought all the supplies. I don't remember the name of that really pretty linen that it's on. The back is the same linen. I just did a back stitch outline both sides, whip stitched it together, and then did this beaded border that came out. I kind of like how it came out. Wasn't exactly what I had envisioned, but I'm pretty pleased with it, and that'll be on the tree this year. This is another one. This is from one of the annual Just Cross Stitch Christmas ornaments. And there was, I forget who it was online, used to do, pardon my fingers here, used to be able to get ornament cuts. They would sell ornament cuts to match the ornaments in the, yeah, I'm really struggling with this here, aren't I? And this is one of the ones that I did. The front and the back are the same, and that's how it was called for. Pretty much the directions had it as a small pillow ornament. Geeky Witch, Maisie, or Melissa, she mentioned that she does some of her ornaments as a biscornu type finish, just to give them a little different shape, and I took that idea and did this one this way. Like I said, the back is the same. I don't know if you can see, I put a few small beads on there and kind of a matching color pink. I'm happy with that one too. This ornament is the next one. This is one of the Teresa Wentzler white work ornaments that I obviously did not do in white thread. It's a Needle Necessities thread. I don't remember the number. This one's been stitched for ages. I pulled it out of the bin of shame. And again, I did a biscornu style finish on that, just used some random beads. I think these are size 8 beads that I had in my stash. The colors kind of went well, and I'm happy with this one too. Last but not least, this one I'm really pleased with. This came from my LNS for a while did a counted canvas work quilt, or counted canvas work club a couple years, where they would send out small, the charts were pretty much freebies from different designers, but they would send out the materials and you could stitch it. This is my own finishing idea. I found this fabric probably in Joann's. I really like the fabric. It's on, the design is stitched on canvas, so I didn't have to worry about fraying. I just trimmed around it and then made the shape, cut it out of mat board, mounted it with a little bit of batting, and then made a beaded hanger. And the piece that I'm most proud of, it's my first beaded tassel. I don't know if you can see that, but I followed a couple tutorials online, and I don't remember where I found them. I thought I saved them, but I didn't. Took some ideas from there and just strung some beads. Like I said, this is the one I'm most happy with because I put the most work into it. But that's where I'm at. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll come back. I'm kind of figuring, since I'm going to be home for a while, if nothing else, I'll sneak up here upstairs at lunchtime and sneak in a quick video from time to time with some progress. I hope to get more FFOing done. I hate to tell you how many ornaments I have left to do, but now that I've got an area set up that it's easy for me to leave my finishing things out. Hope to be getting more of those done. Got my sewing machine back up and working. I can do some pillow finishes, which I have targeted for some of these. So please come back and join me again with more progress and adventures. And hope to see you soon. Thanks.